All right, let's do some review, okay? Remember our poster. You already know your pronouns, right? Let's say them, okay?
I, you, he, she, it, we, they, me, you, him, her, it, us, them. My, mine, yours, his, hers, hers. It's our, ours, their, theirs.
Very good. Now, it's one thing to sing them. It's another thing to be able to use them correctly. And I don't know where to put this. Right here. For now. I need more wall space. Okay, now I am going to see. I don't think anyone can reach up there, can they?
Jen.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to mark the sentence and the sentence pattern, and we're going to circle the correct pronoun and tell me why. Do you think you can do that, Logan? All right. Alex. Okay, so mark your sentence. So mark the subject. What's the subject of pass he or him the potatoes? What kind of a sentence is that? No, what kind of sentence? Is it declarative, interrogative, imperative, or exclamatory? It's if you're telling someone to pass something, you are, well, it's a command, right? So it's imperative. So what's always the subject of a imperative sentence? No, what's the subject? All right, watch. You. Okay, you is always the subject of an imperative. Okay, so it's kind of like you're saying, you pass the potatoes. So what would be the verb? You do what?
Pass.
Pass. So underline pass twice. And what kind of a verb is that? I forgot to mark S over the word you. When you pass something, that's a what? Action verb. So put AV. So AV above pass. And if you can reach it, you can put an S above you. Okay. And then which pronoun is correct? Good. You pass him the potatoes. So circle him. Because him is not a subject, right? You is the subject. Him is objective, so we need to use him. Good job, thank you. So, and actually, you know what? There's one more thing we could mark on there. Does anybody see it? What's potatoes?
Direct object.
Right, that is the direct object, because you could say, you pass what? The potatoes. So that's the direct object. Next one. And you're on my paper. Mason and I or me are playing a piano duet. Okay? Battle between Marissa and Autumn. All right, Marissa. Okay, mark the sentence and the pattern. The subject. Underline the subject. Tell you what, while she's doing that, why don't you see if you can diagram that first sentence. You pass him the potatoes. just diagram the subject, verb, and direct object. Okay, so can you label? And actually, you got part of the verb. Okay, I am me. Good. I is a subject, so you have to say, you have to use subjective, I. And what kind of a, good. Good. Can you say Mason and I are playing what? What are we playing? Duet. So duet is a direct object. Good. Okay, thank you. So while you were waiting, you probably diagrammed like this. You have you in parentheses because it's an understood you. Pass, and actually pass is capitalized. You pass potatoes. Okay. Good job. And then the last one, that car is Abigail's car. All right, Autumn. While you're waiting, diagram one of these. Good job. Okay, actually, it would be this Abigail's. You can put an apostrophe after the S if it's part of someone's name. Jesus, the S was already part of the name. Okay. Okay, that car is Abigail's car. What would car be? Yeah, Abigail's is an adjective describing car, but what would car be? Now, it's not an action verb, so it could be, is it a PA or a PN? It might seem a little tricky. It's a predicate nominative because it's a noun and it's renaming car, even though it's the same word. So you can put PN up here. And what kind of a verb is the verb? Okay, and that is also, so good. If you diagrammed the Mason sentence, you have two subjects. Thank you. Mason, I are playing duet. And then you have two adjectives. A piano. Okay, so how many of you got that one right? That did that one. Okay, good. And then if you did that car is Abigail's car. Car is your subject. Is your verb. And then you have a predicate nominative. So car is car. That car is Abigail's car. Okay, so how many of you got that one right if you did the second one? Very good. Very good. Okay. So we remember that yesterday we talked about a word that describes a verb is called a what?
Adverb.
An adverb. And we talked about how it answers the question how. Today we're going to learn how an adverb can also answer the question, and it's not on this chart, but when and how often. Okay, when is here. When is Okay, so there is how much, but that might be a little bit different. Okay. So let's look at, well, let me give you a sentence. Okay, listen to this sentence. It says, and this is in my book, I'm not making this up. Logan's heart was beating how? What kind of an adverb could we put? Slowly.
It should be like fast.
Quickly, fast, rapidly.
Scarcely.
It was
She has a
beating
heart
hard. Okay. So those all describe how Logan's heart could be beating. What about this question? Pretend that Amelia was answering a question. Amelia answered how? Loudly, quietly, quickly, slowly. What about accurately? She answered it correctly. Okay, that's how she answered the question.
Inaccurately ignoring
Okay,
me.
what about this one? The owl flew how?
Fast. Slow. Medium. Drunk.
Well, we wouldn't say the owl flew medium. That doesn't. It needs,
Drunk.
come on, it needs to make sense.
The owl wasn't drunk.
Okay, the owl flew how?
Weirdly.
No, give me good. Slowly, what is it? Quickly, rapidly. How about
Huge, loud.
how about smoothly?
Silently.
Roughly. Okay. So those are all adverbs describing the verb. Now, look at the board. I have some new sentences. First, let's find the verb. So for the first one, we have, you need a rest now. What is the verb in that sentence? You need need is the verb. Good. Okay, what about in this sentence? Tomorrow we will clean this room. Will clean. Snakes always make me nervous. Can you always make? And then often Mom puts a note in my lunch. Puts. Good. Okay, those are all action verbs, right? So that means we will have an adverb, perhaps. So another question that an adverb can answer is not only how, but when.
And how much?
Okay, so when. So in the first sentence, what is the adverb that's describing need? You need a rest now, right? Because you could say, you need a rest when? Now. So now is an adverb describing need. What about tomorrow we will clean this room? Now this question answers also when. Tomorrow, right. Tomorrow answers when we will clean. Snakes always make me nervous. Okay, now, you know what? This question answers how often.
Always.
Okay, wait a minute. Please stop calling out until I ask. Okay, so these answer when, and then these are going to answer how often. So what about, how often do the snakes make me nervous? They always make me nervous. That's how often they do. It's not just sometimes, it's always. Often, Mom puts a note in my lunch. What's the adverb? Often. Because how often does she put a note in your lunch? Often. Okay? And maybe your mom puts a note in your lunch. So, just think. Does it answer how? Does it answer when? Does it answer how often? Then it's probably an adverb describing the verb. Yes.
Since I was missing that sentence, it also can answer when.
When? Well, it more answers how often though. Okay, because it's like how many times does it make me nervous? Always, every time. Makes me nervous.
No,
Ugh,
I'm not.
snakes.
I love
Okay, turn in your language book to page 130. And I will remember to check your homework, hopefully. Okay, so we have at the top of page 130, an adverb is a word that usually describes a verb. An adverb may answer one of these questions, which we talked about. Read the questions. How, when, how often? So, for the first example, they give you Olivia practices the clarinet diligently. So that answers the question, how? And then yesterday, the marching band practiced. That answers when. And then we rehearse together weekly. That answers how often. Okay, so for Think A, we are going to mark the sentence, and then we're going to circle the adverb that tells how, when, or how often about the verb. And then we're going to draw an arrow from the adverb to the verb it describes, and then we're going to write the question that the adverb answers. So, for number 1, who would like to do number 1? All right, Micah.
Yesterday we performed at the park. We is your subject.
Okay.
Performed is your verb. And
Good.
yesterday is the adverb. And it's a when.
Good. All right, did everybody get that? If you were listening. Okay, he said when we is the subject. Please stop calling out. Thank you. All right, we is your subject. Performed is your verb. And then adverb was yesterday, so you're going to circle yesterday. And then that describes when you performed. Okay, so just like that. Alright, I'm not going to write each one though. Number 2, who wants to do number 2? Alex? Excuse me. Carefully, our director loaded our instruments into the van.
Director is the subject.
Good,
Loaded is the verb.
good.
And carefully is the adverb.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you draw an arrow and carefully to load.
Good. And what question does that answer? How, right. How did the director load the instruments? He loaded them carefully. So circle carefully and draw an arrow to loaded. Number 3. Noah. Number 3, we arrived at the park later. What's your subject? Okay, what's your verb? Okay. And what's the adverb? So circle later. And what question is that answering? Is it answering how, when, or how often? When. Yes, answering when. So draw an arrow from later to arrived. When did we arrive? Later. Number 4, our elementary band played well. Autumn? I can't, you have to talk really loud. No, say, what is it? What are we learning? Adverbs. Right. So band is your subject, played is your verb. How did we play? They played well. So circle well and draw an arrow to played. And then that answers the question how. And number 5, we will practice daily for our spring concert. Jensen?
I have a question about number 4.
Okay.
So on number 4, is are our an adverb too?
No. It's an adjective describing band.
Because isn't it whose
Right.
whose band?
But whose is an adjective question. Okay. Yeah. So what's number 5?
So we is the subject.
Mm-hmm.
Will practice is your verb.
Good. And what's the adverb?
Daily?
Yes. Daily, and what question is that answering?
When? Or no. How often?
Yes. If it was when, then it would say something like, we will practice tomorrow for our spring concert. But it's telling how often we will practice daily, meaning every day, for our spring concert. Okay, so circle daily and draw an arrow to practice. And then your question is how often. All right, think B. We're going to draw a line from each verb to the adverb you think matches the best. So Jed, can you do, what adverb do you think matches mix? Do you mix never, mix carefully, or mix completely? Which one do you think's the best?
I'm not sure. It's never, but I can't decide between carefully and completely.
Well, and you do need to do it carefully, but I would think you would want to mix something completely to get it all mixed up. If you don't do it completely, then you won't get all your ingredients mixed up. That's just what I would think.
But bake completely. Or
True.
not completely.
True. Because you don't want to mix it completely and then never bake it. But you're right, never is a little bit tricky, so. Mix never, pour never, bake never. I don't know, that one is kind of weird.
No, mix never.
Just pick which one you think matches best.
Bake never.
Okay, pour,
Because then
pour never, well, you gotta pour it too, I don't know.
never
Carefully,
Maybe some things you don't need to mix.
pour carefully, mix completely, bake never, or else the oven will explode.
Yes.
sometimes you don't need to bake stuff. Like if
Microwave.
you're making something and it doesn't need to be, because some things don't need to be baked.
That's true, like no-bake cookies.
Yeah.
You mix them
Put 'em in
and
the
then you
microwave.
take the mixture and just set it in little piles on a, and then you just let it harden and you don't have to bake it.
I put it on.
Okay. Logan, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, mix carefully because that just makes sense. And then
Mix, pour,
never because sometimes you don't have to pour it, you just have to drop it in.
Okay.
And then
And then now do the next one. No, not one to every single one. Only one line per word. Enjoy, sleep, and walk. And then the adverbs are now, slowly, and tomorrow. So you put what you think. Autumn, what'd you write? Okay, good. Micah?
Enjoy now, sleep tomorrow, walk slowly.
Mm-hmm. Logan?
Enjoy tomorrow, sleep slowly, walk. Wait. Enjoy tomorrow, sleep now, walk slowly.
Okay, I think pretty much everyone has the same ones. Mason?
That's what people say.
Slowly enjoy. Tomorrow, sleep. Now walk.
Okay. All right, come on. If there's only so many options we can have here, guys. Nicholas?
Enjoy tomorrow. Sleep slowly, walk now.
Walk down. Okay, good. Now, here's where you apply what you know. Write a kind of sentence using an adverb that answers the question. So for number 1, write an imperative sentence. So that would be a what kind? We had one earlier. What's imperative? It's a command. And then your adverb needs to answer the question how. So I'm thinking of your parents telling you to do something maybe. And then number 2, exclamatory shows feeling, excitement, and your adverb needs to answer the question when. All right, why is your hand up? Okay. We just started this. How do you already have a sentence? Alex, go ahead. What? Imperative is a command. Marissa? Where's your language book? Mason, do you have her language book? Alright, put your book away. You're not going to just sit there and read another book. Alright, Micah, read your sentence.
Do you have to eat? Wait. You have to eat slowly, said Bubba.
You have to eat slowly. No,
He's
okay,
telling
so,
you to eat slowly.
okay, you don't say you have to eat slowly. You just say eat slowly. That can be your sentence. Eat slowly.
said Bubba.
Jensen.
I will practice riding a chicken slowly.
What?
I said I will practice riding a chicken
That
slowly.
is not imperative.
That's
All right, imperative is a command. Somebody telling somebody to do something. Do your homework. Pass the potatoes.
You better ride.
Practice your violin. Clean your room. All right, Nicholas.
Go eat yogurt. Go eat yogurt.
Go eat. Okay, but then we need to think of an adverb. Go eat your yogurt carefully.
Now.
Okay, Jacob.
Go get the ball quickly.
What's that?
Go get the ball quickly.
Good. Alex.
Gunpowder carefully.
Good. Mason.
Then clean your stinky socks, smelly underwear, and yucky pants and shirts off the floor fast.
Okay, but did you have an adverb in there?
Fast.
Fast.
Fast? Okay. Jana.
Go clean your room fast.
Okay, fast.
Mason.
Probably fast, I guess, would be an adverb. Some words, I don't know. To me, quickly sounds better than fast, but you already did one.
I did one and it was wrong, so I made it.
All right, go ahead.
You will practice riding a chicken crazily.
No, practice riding a chicken crazily. Don't write the word you. It's an understood you. Okay, Alex. Did you read it with excitement?
No. But it does have.
We will go to the park tomorrow.
Good. Matthew.
Go and ride your bike now.
Good. Go and ride your bike. Although now would be when you could say go and ride your bike safely. Okay, that would be how. Okay.
We are going to Florida and fast.
We are going.
I think it's a stone card.
Okay. Jacob.
I think, but it's a phone ace.
What's that? I'm sorry.
I just read the phone yesterday.
Okay, good. One more. Jaina.
We will go to grandma's tomorrow.
We will go to Grandma's tomorrow. Good. So you ought to be able to ask yourself those questions when you hear an adverb. And then remember D, right? Mark the circle next to the sentence that is written correctly. So look at number 1. Which one is written correctly?
The first.
The first one. Why is the second one wrong?
Because the period is after.
Yes, the period needs to be inside the quotation marks. So number 1, the first one is correct. What about number 2? Which one is?
That one was. Second.
The second one, why is the first one wrong?
Well, there's no comma after.
Right, it's a run-on sentence because it says, and then the band began to play. Number 3,
First one.
First one.
the first one is correct. Why is the second one wrong?
Because it has a comma after.
Right,
Then.
right. The trumpets, they played the first notes of the melody, so it's not written correctly. All right, turn. I remembered. Turn to your homework. Page 254. 254. You were supposed to do lesson 131.
I looked at my phone.
All right, let's grade it. Let's grade it. Get out a red pen, grade your own paper. Let me just make sure everybody did it real quick. Quickly. Quickly. See, I said everyone did it quickly. 131.
Yeah, but I don't have to do it on Thursday.
Well, what if maybe I'll skip that.
Well, then I don't have to do it on Thursday. Even if you skip it, it isn't possible to stop it.
Okay, everybody did it. Now let's check it. All right, number 1. Okay, you were supposed to underline or mark the sentence and underline the correct verb.
Just get something right.
Here. Okay. So number 1, you should have underlined orchestra and is. Orchestra is. Number 2, underline members are. Number 3, violinists were playing, actually. Violinists were playing. Number 4, underline viola has. Number 5, violas play. Number 6, people think. Number 7, bass has been called. Number 8, harpists do play. And number 9, conductor is. Happy is a predicate adjective. Okay, and then for the diagramming your sentence, you had to mark it, and then you had to put the sentence pattern, and then diagram it. So I is your subject, set is an action verb, and table is your direct object. And then you draw lines from the and dinner to table, and then you diagram it like this. I set table the dinner. Okay, so that was number 1. Number 2, we is your subject, ate is an action verb, and soup and sandwiches are direct objects. Okay, so you had to do it like this. We ate. Okay, and then you still have your line for your direct object, but you have 2 direct objects. So we ate soup and sandwiches. Alright, so that's number 2. And then number 3, mom is your subject. Made is your verb. Pie is your direct object. And then draw an arrow from my to mom and a delicious apple to pie. Okay, so it's like this. Mom made pie and my mom and a delicious apple. Alright, there you go. So put minus whatever you got.